She found him in the hospital parking garage at 3 a.m., slumped against a concrete pillar with blood pooling beneath him and two newborn twins screaming in car seats at his feet. He was the most beautiful man she'd ever seen, even dying. And when their eyes met through the darkness, something in Maya Chen's carefully controlled world shattered completely. Because this stranger, this wounded, desperate stranger clutching his babies like they were his last breath, looked at her like she was salvation itself. She had no idea he was New York's most dangerous Korean crime lord. Had no idea his enemies were already hunting him. Had no idea that the moment she pressed her hands against his bleeding chest and refused to let him die, she just declared war on an empire that had stood for 3 generations. All Maya knew was that those babies needed their father. And she'd spent too many years watching people die when she could have saved them. The fluorescent lights in St. Catherine's Hospital parking garage flickered at 3:17 a.m., casting sickly yellow pools across oil-stained concrete. Maya Chen's worn sneakers squeaked against the floor as she headed toward her decade-old Honda Civic, her body aching from a double shift in the ER. 16 hours. 16 hours of trauma codes, overdoses, and a gunshot victim who died on her table despite everything she'd done. The attending physician had told her it wasn't her fault, that sometimes people were just too far gone. But Maya could still feel the man's blood on her hands, could still hear the flatlines screaming in her ears. She was fumbling with her keys, exhaustion making her fingers clumsy when she heard it. Crying. Not just any crying. The desperate, newborn wail of infants who needed something urgently. 2 voices actually. Twins maybe. The sound echoed off concrete pillars, impossible to pinpoint. Maya froze, her nurse's instincts overriding her exhaustion. It was 3 a.m. in a hospital parking garage. No one brought newborns here at 3 a.m. unless something was very, very wrong. Hello. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Is someone there? Do you need help? The crying intensified. Maya followed the sound, her heart rate climbing with each step. She rounded a concrete pillar near the garage's darkest corner, away from the security cameras, away from the well-lit areas where people parked, and stopped breathing. A man was slumped against the pillar, his head tilted back, eyes closed. Even in the terrible lighting, Maya could see he was stunning. Sharp Korean features, strong jaw, black hair falling across his forehead. He wore what had once been an expensive suit, black and perfectly tailored. Now it was soaked with blood, dark and spreading across his left side, pooling on the concrete beneath him. At his feet sat 2 infant car seats. The babies inside couldn't have been more than a few weeks old, their tiny faces red and scrunched with distress, their small bodies writhing as they screamed. Maya's training kicked in before her brain could process the danger. She dropped to her knees beside the man, her hands already reaching for his neck to check his pulse. His eyes snapped open. Dark, almost black, filled with pain and something else. Desperate, fierce protectiveness. His hand shot out faster than should have been possible for someone bleeding out, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. Don't, he rasped, his voice heavily accented. Korean definitely. Don't touch them. I'm a nurse, Maya said quickly, keeping her voice calm despite her racing heart. I work here. You're hurt. The babies are crying. Let me help. His grip didn't loosen. No police. No hospital. You're at a hospital. In the parking garage. Maya glanced at the wound, her professional assessment automatic. Gunshot left side below the ribs. Heavy bleeding, but he was still conscious, still talking. Maybe she could work with that. You need immediate medical attention or you're going to bleed out in the next hour. No. His jaw clenched. They'll find us. They'll kill them. The baby's cries reached a fever pitch. Maya looked at them, so small, so vulnerable, their tiny fists waving in distress. One wore pink, one wore blue. A girl and a boy, barely 3 weeks old by her estimation. When did they last eat? Maya asked. The man's eyes closed briefly. 6 hours. Maybe 7. 7 hours? Maya's voice sharpened. These are newborns. They need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. They're probably starving. I know. The words came out broken, defeated. I couldn't stop. Couldn't risk it. Maya made a decision. She pulled her wrist free from his weakening grip and immediately pressed both hands against his wound. He hissed through his teeth, his body going rigid. What's your name? She asked, applying pressure. Jay. he managed. Min-ho. I'm Maya Chen. She kept the pressure steady, feeling warm blood pulse against her palms. Here's what's going to happen, Jay. I'm going to stop this bleeding. Then I'm going to feed your babies. Then we're going to figure out how to keep all three of you alive. Understand? Why? His eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. Why would you help? Because those babies are crying and you're bleeding and I'm a nurse. Maya's voice was firm. It's literally what I do. You don't understand what you're getting into. Then explain it to me. After I stop the bleeding. Jay stared at her for a long moment. Then impossibly he smiled. It was small, pained but genuine. You're either very brave or very foolish. Probably both. Maya glanced around the garage. Still empty, but that wouldn't last forever. Do you have supplies? Anything for the babies? Diaper bag. In the car. He gestured weakly toward a black Mercedes parked in the shadows 10 feet away. The driver's side door hung open, the interior light off. Smart, he'd disabled it so the light wouldn't draw attention. Keys. Ignition. Maya made another quick decision. I'm going to get the bag. Keep pressure on this wound. Use both hands, press hard. Can you do that? Jay's hands replaced hers, his face going gray with pain as he applied pressure to his own wound. Maya ran to the Mercedes, grabbed the expensive-looking diaper bag from the back seat and ran back. She worked quickly. 2 bottles already prepared just needed warming. She didn't have time for that. Room temperature would have to do. She grabbed the first baby, the girl pink onesie impossibly tiny, and carefully lifted her from the car seat. The baby's cries softened immediately at being held. Maya cradled her against her shoulder with practiced ease, positioning the bottle. The infant latched on desperately, sucking with the frantic hunger of a newborn who'd gone too long between feedings. What's her name? Maya asked, keeping her voice soft. Suyun. Jay's voice was strained. It means gentle lotus. She's beautiful. And she was, perfect little features, wisps of black hair, tiny fingers that gripped Maya's scrub top as she drank. And him. Hyunwoo. Bright and protective. The boy was still crying, his wails becoming hoarse. Almost there, Hyunwoo, Maya murmured. Your sister's almost done, then it's your turn. Suyun finished the bottle in record time. Maya burped her gently, then settled her back in the car seat before lifting Hyunwoo. He was slightly bigger than his sister, his face red with rage and hunger. But the moment the bottle touched his lips, he quieted, drinking just as desperately. Maya glanced at Jay while she fed his son. His eyes were closed, his breathing shallow. The blood was still spreading. Jay. Stay with me. His eyes opened slowly. Tired. I know. But you have to stay awake. She kept her voice firm, commanding. Your children need you awake. Talk to me. Tell me what happened. Ambush. The word came out slurred. At my home. They killed my guards. Killed my... He stopped, his jaw clenching. I grabbed the twins. Got to the car. Drove here. Why here? Why this hospital? Saw your face. Jay's eyes focused on her with effort. 3 months ago. In the ER. You treated a man with a knife wound. Didn't ask questions. Just fixed him. He was one of mine. Maya's blood went cold. She remembered that patient, Korean mid-30s stab wound to the shoulder. He'd refused to file a police report, had paid in cash and had left against medical advice. She'd noted it in his chart but hadn't pushed. You've been watching me, she said slowly. I watch everyone who might be useful. Jay's smile was bitter. You're good. Competent. You don't judge. And you're here at 3 a.m., which means you work nights. Perfect timing. You planned this. The realization made her hands shake. You knew you might need help. You picked me specifically. Insurance policy. His eyes were drifting closed again. Didn't think I'd actually need it. Hyunwoo finished his bottle. Maya burped him, changed both babies' diapers with supplies from the bag and settled them back in their car seats. They were already falling asleep, their tiny bodies finally relaxed and full. Then she turned her full attention to Jay. The wound was bad. Professional bad. She needed to see it properly, needed light and supplies. Her car had a first aid kit, but nothing adequate for a gunshot wound. The year had everything she needed, but taking him inside meant questions, police reports, and based on what he'd said, whoever was hunting him finding them. "Can you walk?" she asked. "Maybe. My apartment is 20 minutes away. I have medical supplies there. I keep extras from the hospital for emergencies. I can treat you there, keep the babies safe while you heal." Jay's eyes opened fully, focusing on her with sudden intensity. "Why would you do this? You don't know me. Don't know what I am. I know you're a father who drove here bleeding to protect his newborn children. I know you're terrified of whoever's hunting you. And I know those babies will die if you die." Maya met his gaze steadily. "That's enough for me. I'm not a good man, Maya Chen. Good men don't usually get shot in parking garages at 3 a.m. She offered a small smile. "But right now you're my patient. And I don't let my patients die if I can help it." Jay studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Help me up." It took 5 agonizing minutes to get him into her Honda. He was tall, at least 6'2", and muscular beneath the ruined suit. Every movement made him bite back sounds of pain, made fresh blood seep through his fingers. Maya got him into the passenger seat, secured the car seats in the back and slid behind the wheel. Her hands were shaking now. She just committed to something insane. She was taking a wounded man, possibly a criminal definitely connected to something dangerous, and 2 newborn babies to her apartment. She could lose her nursing license, could get arrested, could get killed. But when she looked in the rearview mirror and saw those tiny sleeping faces, she knew she'd made the only choice she could live with. "Stay awake," she told Jay as she pulled out of the parking garage. "Talk to me. Tell me about the twins. Born 3 weeks ago." His voice was barely above a whisper. 21 days. Seun came first. 3 minutes later Hyunwoo. Both healthy. Both perfect. "Where's their mother?" Silence. Long enough that Maya thought he'd passed out. Then, dead. Childbirth complications. She bled out before we could get her to a hospital. Maya's chest tightened. "I'm sorry. She wanted them so badly." Jay's eyes were closed but tears leaked from the corners. "We tried for 3 years. Finally succeeded. And then," his voice broke. "She never got to hold them. Never got to see them open their eyes." "What was her name?" "Jiwoo. It means wisdom and gentleness." Pause. She was both. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Maya kept glancing over, making sure Jay was still breathing, still conscious. The blood had soaked through his suit jacket, spreading across her passenger seat. She'd have to clean that later. They survived that long. "The people hunting you," she said quietly. "Are they going to come after me? After my apartment?" "Probably." Jay's honesty was brutal. "Once they realize I'm not dead. Once they start tracking my movements." "How long do we have?" "Hours. Maybe a day if we're lucky." He coughed and blood flecked his lips. "You should drop us off. Walk away. Forget you ever saw us. And let you bleed out in the street with 2 newborns?" Maya shook her head. "Not happening." "You're stubborn." "I'm committed." She took the exit toward her neighborhood. There's a difference. Her apartment was in a building that had seen better decades. Peeling paint, flickering hallway lights, the smell of old cooking and older regrets. But it was home, and more importantly it was anonymous. No doorman, no security cameras in the halls. Perfect for disappearing. Getting Jay up 3 flights of stairs nearly killed them both. He could barely stand, his weight heavy against her side. Maya had to stop twice, propping him against the wall while she caught her breath. The babies stayed mercifully asleep in their car seats, which she carried one at a time up the stairs. Finally they made it inside. Maya's studio apartment was small. 400 square feet, barely enough for 1 person, let alone 3 adults and 2 babies. But it was clean, organized, and most importantly, it had the medical supplies she'd been hoarding for months. She settled Jay on her futon couch, the only real furniture she owned besides a rickety kitchen table. The babies she placed carefully in their car seats on the floor, checking to make sure they were still breathing, still comfortable. Then she turned to Jay and began cutting away his clothes. The suit jacket came off first, then the shirt. His torso was a work of art, even covered in blood. Lean muscle, defined abs, and intricate tattoos that covered his entire right side. Dragons and geometric patterns, Korean characters she couldn't read. The kind of ink that cost thousands of dollars and took dozens of hours. The gunshot wound was high on his left side, below the ribs. Entry wound, no exit wound. The bullet was still inside. I need to get it out, Maya said, washing her hands at the kitchen sink. I don't have anesthetic. This is going to hurt. I know. Jay's eyes were open now, clear despite the pain. Do it. Maya gathered her supplies. Sterile gauze, surgical scissors, tweezers, antibacterial ointment, sutures, and a bottle of vodka she'd been saving for a celebration that never came. She poured vodka over the tweezers, then over the wound itself. Jay made a sound like a wounded animal, his whole body going rigid. But he didn't cry out. Didn't beg her to stop. Ready. Maya positioned the tweezers. No. Do it anyway. She pushed the tweezers into the wound, feeling for the bullet. Jay's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Not hard enough to stop her, just hard enough to ground himself. His breathing came in sharp, controlled bursts. Maya worked quickly, efficiently, pushing aside her own horror at what she was doing. This wasn't the sterile environment of an OR. This was her tiny apartment with questionable lighting and tools that weren't meant for surgery. But it was all they had. The tweezers caught something solid. She adjusted her angle, pulled gently, felt resistance. Pulled harder. The bullet came free with a wet sound that made her stomach turn. She dropped it into a bowl with a metallic clink, immediately pressing gauze against the gushing blood. Got it, she said, her voice shaking now that the worst was over. Now I just need to clean it and stitch you up. Jay's grip on her wrist loosened. Thank you. Maya worked for another 20 minutes, cleaning the wound, checking for bullet fragments, suturing the torn tissue with hands that had steadied with practice. Finally, she bandaged it properly, wrapping gauze around his torso. You should rest, she said, washing blood from her hands for the third time. Your body needs to heal. The twins. I'll watch them. I have tomorrow off. Maya managed a tired smile. I've got plenty of experience with newborns. They're kind of my specialty. Jay's eyes were already closing. The blood loss and pain were catching up to him, dragging him under. Maya Chen, he murmured. Why are you really doing this? Maya thought about all the patients she'd lost. All the people she couldn't save. All the time she'd been too late, too slow, too powerless. Because I can, she said quietly. Because for once I have the chance to save someone. And I'm not going to waste it. She thought he'd fallen asleep. But then his hand found hers, his fingers intertwining with hers in a grip that was surprisingly strong. Stay, he whispered. Please. Just stay close. So Maya sat on the floor beside the futon, her hand in his, and listened to him breathe. In their car seats, Soo-yoon and Hyun-woo slept peacefully, their tiny chests rising and falling in perfect synchronization. And in that moment, in her tiny apartment with a wounded stranger and 2 newborn babies, Maya Chen felt something she hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Maya woke to the sound of crying. Not the desperate, starving wails from the parking garage, but the insistent fussing of newborns who needed something. Diaper change, food, comfort, all of the above. She blinked in the gray dawn light filtering through her apartment's single window. Her neck ached from sleeping sitting up against the futon, her hands still loosely clasped in Jay's. She pulled free carefully, not wanting to wake him, and checked his forehead. Burning. Damn it, Maya whispered. Fever. Of course there was fever. Gunshot wounds were notorious for infection, and she'd operated in less than sterile conditions. She needed to check the wound, change the dressing, probably start him on antibiotics from her stash. But first the babies. Soo-yoon was awake and fussing, her tiny face scrunched with displeasure. Hyun-woo was working up to a full cry, his little body tensing. Maya lifted Soo-yoon first, cradling the impossibly small weight against her shoulder. She's sweet girl. I've got you. He checked the diaper soaked. Changed it with practiced efficiency, then repeated the process with Hyun-woo. Both babies needed feeding. Maya warmed bottles in a pot of water on her ancient stove, testing the temperature on her wrist the way she'd been taught during her pediatric rotation. Soo-yoon ate first, her dark eyes staring up at Maya with that unfocused newborn gaze that still somehow felt like she was seeing straight into Maya's soul. The baby's tiny hand gripped Maya's finger with surprising strength. You're a fighter, aren't you? Maya murmured. Just like your dad. She burped Soo-yoon gently, then fed Hyun-woo, who drank with the same desperate efficiency as his sister. These babies were used to fighting for survival, Maya realized. 3 weeks old and already they'd lost their mother, survived an attack, gone hours without food. They were resilient in a way that broke her heart. After both babies were fed, changed, and settling back into sleep, Maya turned her attention to Jay. He looked worse in daylight. His skin had a grayish cast, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool apartment. The bandages were spotted with fresh blood, not heavily but enough to concern her. Maya gathered fresh supplies and carefully began unwrapping the bandages. Jay's eyes fluttered open at her touch. Maya. His voice was rough, parched. I'm here. You have a fever. I need to check the wound. She helped him sit up slightly, propping pillows behind him. This might hurt. The wound looked angry and red around the edges. Early signs of infection but not catastrophic yet. Maya cleaned it thoroughly with antiseptic, applied fresh antibiotic ointment, and rebandaged it with clean gauze. I'm going to give you antibiotics, she said, moving to her stash of medical supplies. She'd been stockpiling for months. Medications that were technically expired but still effective, supplies she'd quietly taken from the hospital's donation bins. And you need to drink water. A lot of it. She helped him swallow the pills, then held a glass while he drank. His hand shook as he gripped the glass, and Maya saw how much effort even this simple act cost him. The twins, he asked when he'd finished. Fed, changed, sleeping. They're perfect. Maya set the glass aside. You raised them well in 3 weeks. I had help. A nanny guards my... He stopped, his jaw clenching. People who are dead now. Maya sat on the edge of the futon, close enough to monitor him but giving him space. What happened, Jay? Who's hunting you? He was quiet for a long moment, his eyes fixed on the sleeping babies across the room. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. My name is Jae Minho. I'm the head of the Baekpa, the White Faction. We control most of the Korean organized crime operations in New York, New Jersey, and parts of Connecticut. He looked at her, watching for her reaction. I'm what you'd call a crime boss. A very wealthy, very dangerous crime boss. Maya's breath caught. She'd suspected he was connected to something illegal. The gunshot wound, the paranoia about police and hospitals, the expensive suit and car. But hearing it confirmed was different. What do you control? She asked, keeping her voice steady. Drugs. Weapons. Mostly legitimate businesses now. Restaurants, real estate, import-export. We've been transitioning away from the old ways. Jay's eyes darkened. My father built the Baekpa on blood and fear. When he died 2 years ago, I inherited an empire that was drowning in violence and police attention. I've been trying to clean it up, make it sustainable. And someone doesn't like that. My uncle. Jae Sung-min. The name came out like poison. He's old school. Believes the only way to maintain power is through fear and violence. He's been undermining me since I took control, turning my own people against me, making alliances with our enemies. Maya processed this. And last night was supposed to be a family dinner at my home. Just my uncle, a few trusted advisors, celebrating Suyun and Hyunwoo's 3-week birthday. Jay's hands clenched into fists. Instead it was an ambush. 12 armed men. They killed my guards first. Men who'd served my family for decades. Then they went for my nanny, my housekeeper, anyone who might be loyal to me. How did you escape? Ju's sister Minho. She was visiting from Seoul, helping with the babies. Jay's voice cracked. She saw the men coming. She grabbed a gun from one of the dead guards and held them off long enough for me to get the twins to the garage. I heard her screaming as I drove away. Maya's chest tightened. I'm sorry. I got shot trying to push through their blockade. Made it 3 blocks before I realized I was bleeding too badly to drive safely. That's when I remembered you. Remembered the hospital where you worked. He looked at her with an intensity that made her shiver. You were my last hope. Why didn't you call other members of your organization? People who could protect you. Because I don't know who to trust anymore. Jay's laugh was bitter. My uncle has been working for months to turn my people against me. Half my organization thinks I'm weak for trying to go legitimate. The other half is terrified of what my uncle will do if they stay loyal to me. Anyone I call could be the one who gives away my location. Maya stood and walked to her window, looking out at the gray New York morning. Somewhere out there, dangerous men were hunting the father of those sleeping babies. And she'd just invited them all into her home. They're going to find us, she said quietly. Eventually, someone will track your car, check hospital parking garages, put the pieces together. I know. So what's your plan? Hide here until the fever breaks, then run? Take the twins and disappear? I don't have a plan, Maya. The admission seemed to cost him. For the first time in my life, I don't know what to do. All I know is that my children are alive and I'll do anything to keep them that way. Maya turned back to face him. Even trust a stranger who found you bleeding in a parking garage? You're not a stranger anymore. Jay's eyes held hers. You saved my life. You fed my children. You brought us into your home knowing what I am, knowing the danger. That makes you family by the old code. And I protect family. Something warm unfurled in Maya's chest. She'd been alone for so long. No family, no close friends, just the endless grind of work and sleep and trying to keep her head above water. The idea of being family to someone even in this twisted situation felt like coming home. Your fever is going to get worse before it gets better, she said, shifting back into nurse mode. You need rest, fluids, and probably stronger antibiotics than what I have here. If it spikes above 103, we'll have to risk a hospital. No hospitals. Then you better start drinking water and actually resting. Maya crossed her arms. That means sleeping, not planning revenge or worrying about your organization. Sleep. Heal. Trust me to keep watch. Jay studied her face. You're bossy. I'm a nurse in an understaffed ER. Bossy is a survival skill. She softened slightly. Please, Jay. Let me help you properly. That means following my instructions. He nodded slowly, settling back against the pillows. What about you? You've been awake all night. I'll sleep when you're stable. It wasn't entirely true, she was running on fumes and adrenaline, but she'd functioned on less during her residency. Maya. His hand reached out, found hers. Thank you. For everything. She squeezed his hand gently. Thank me when you're not running a fever and your babies are safe. Over the next 6 hours, Maya fell into a rhythm. Feed the twins every 3 hours. Check Jay's temperature and wound every 2 hours. Catch 20-minute power naps in between. It was exhausting in a way that reminded her of her clinical rotations, but there was something satisfying about it. Purpose. Direction. The feeling that what she was doing actually mattered. Jay's fever climbed to 102.4 by noon. Maya made him swallow more antibiotics, forced water down his throat, and applied cool compresses to his forehead. He drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes lucid, sometimes mumbling in Korean. Words she couldn't understand, but that sounded like prayers or apologies. During one of his lucid moments, while Maya was changing his bandages, he spoke quietly. Ju was a doctor. Pediatrician. His eyes were distant, remembering. We met at a fundraiser. She was there representing a children's hospital. I was there because my father insisted the Bekpa needed to look legitimate. One conversation and I was lost. Maya's hands stilled on the bandage. What was she like? Brilliant. Compassionate. She saw the world in ways I'd never learned to see it. Saw good in people, potential for change. A sad smile crossed his face. She saw good in me somehow. Convinced me I could be more than what my father raised me to be. Is that why you've been trying to go legitimate? Partly. But also for them. He gestured weakly toward the sleeping twins. Jiwoo made me promise before she died. Made me swear I'd give our children a life that wasn't built on fear and violence. That I'd be better than my father. You're keeping that promise, Maya said softly. You got them out. Protected them. That's what matters. Is it enough though? Jay's eyes found hers, vulnerable in a way that made her chest ache. I'm bleeding in a stranger's apartment with half my organization trying to kill me. What kind of father is that? The kind who drove himself to a hospital parking garage with a bullet in his side because he knew I could help. The kind who holds his children even when he's dying. Maya finished securing the bandage. The kind who's doing everything possible to keep them safe. That's enough, Jay. That's more than enough. He reached up, his hand cupping her cheek. The touch was gentle, almost reverent. You're remarkable. Has anyone ever told you that? Maya's breath caught. Not recently. Then they're fools. His thumb traced her cheekbone and she felt the calluses there. Evidence of a life that wasn't all expensive suits and luxury cars. You could have walked away. Should have walked away. But you stayed. I'm stubborn like that. I'm grateful for your stubborn. The words were starting to slur as fever pulled him under again. So grateful. His hand dropped and his eyes closed. Maya sat there for a moment, her cheeks still warm from his touch, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. This was dangerous. Not just the situation with armed men hunting them, but the way she was starting to feel about this wounded stranger and his tiny children. She stood abruptly, needing distance, needing to think. The twins were still sleeping peacefully, their small chests rising and falling in perfect synchronization. Maya watched them for a moment, then made a decision. She pulled out her laptop and started researching. Jae Min-ho. Baekpa, Korean organized crime in New York. The results were extensive. News articles about crackdowns on illegal gambling operations. Federal investigations into money laundering through restaurant chains. And photos. Dozens of photos of Jae at charity events, business openings, society functions. He looked different in them, colder, more remote. The dangerous man she'd suspected he was. But the man sleeping on her futon, the one who'd mumbled prayers in Korean and cried over his dead wife, that wasn't the cold crime boss in these photos. That was someone trying desperately to be better than what he'd been born into. Maya was so absorbed in her research that she almost missed the sound. A footstep in the hallway outside her apartment. She froze, every nerve suddenly screaming danger. It was 3 p.m. on a weekday. Her neighbors were all at work. No one should be in this hallway. Another footstep. Maya's hand shot out, shaking Jae's shoulder urgently. Jae. Someone's outside. His eyes snapped open, instantly alert despite the fever. Years of survival instinct overriding pain and exhaustion. How many? I don't know. I just heard footsteps. Jae pushed himself up with a grimace, his hand reaching for something in his jacket pocket. He pulled out a gun. Sleek, black, deadly. Maya's stomach dropped. Get the twins into the bathroom, he said quietly. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you it's safe. Jae. Now, Maya. She didn't argue. She grabbed both car seats, moving as quietly as possible into the tiny bathroom. She locked the door and sat on the closed toilet lid, a baby on each side of her, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Through the thin door she heard a knock. Polite, almost casual. Maya Chen. A man's voice, accented but speaking English. We know you're home. We just want to talk. Silence. Then Jae's voice, cold and commanding in a way Maya had never heard from him. About what? About the man you're hiding. The children. The future of the Baekpa. Pause. I'm not here to hurt you, Maya Chen. I'm here to make you an offer. Maya's hands were shaking. She looked down at the babies, still sleeping somehow, and felt a fierce protectiveness surge through her. Whatever happened next, she wouldn't let these children be hurt. I'm not hiding anyone, Jae called out. Maya could hear the strain in his voice, the effort it cost him to sound strong. You have the wrong apartment. We both know that's not true. The blood in the parking garage, the disabled security cameras, the tracking device on your vehicle. It all led us here. The voice was patient, almost kind. I admire your survival instinct, Min-ho. Getting shot and still managing to evade us for nearly 24 hours. Impressive. Who are you? My name is Han De-young. I work for your uncle. Pause. Well, I used to work for your uncle. Things have changed. Maya pressed her ear against the bathroom door, straining to hear. This wasn't making sense. If this man worked for Jae's uncle, the one who'd ordered the attack, why was he here talking instead of shooting? What do you want? Jae asked. To make a deal. Your uncle made mistakes last night. He underestimated you, underestimated your ability to escape. More importantly, he showed his hand too early. Half the organization is horrified by what he did. Attacking during a family celebration, killing civilians, endangering newborn children. The man's voice hardened. There are lines even we don't cross. Your uncle crossed all of them. So what? You're here to apologize. I'm here to offer you a chance to take back what's yours. But you need to survive first. Pause. The nurse who helped you, Maya Chen. She's the key. Maya's blood went cold. How did they know about her? How did they know her name? Leave her out of this, Jae's voice was deadly. She's a civilian. She has nothing to do with the Baekpa. On the contrary, she has everything to do with it now. She saved your life. Saved your children. That makes her valuable. The man's voice took on a different tone. Your uncle is looking for her too. He knows you wouldn't have survived without help. Once he finds out who she is, he'll use her to get to you. You know how he operates. Silence. Long enough that Maya's chest tightened with fear. Then Jay spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. What's your offer? Protection. For you, for the children, for Maya Chen. I have safe houses, loyal men, resources your uncle doesn't know about. Han paused. But in exchange you give me something. What? Your word that when this is over, when your uncle is dealt with, the Baekpa continues on the path of legitimacy. No more backsliding. No more trying to appease the old guard. We commit fully to the transition, and anyone who won't come along gets cut loose. Maya's mind reeled. This was a coup within a coup. Han was offering to help Jay take down his uncle, but only if Jay promised to honor the very changes that had gotten him targeted in the first place. Why? Jay asked. Why do you care about going legitimate? Because I have a daughter. Han's voice softened. She's 8 years old. Smart, beautiful, everything good in this world. And I don't want her growing up ashamed of what her father does. I don't want her living in fear that one day someone will come for me the way they came for you. The words hung in the air. Maya thought about Suyun and Hyunwoo, sleeping peacefully despite the danger surrounding them. Thought about what kind of life they'd have if their father couldn't escape this world of violence. How do I know I can trust you? Jay asked finally. You don't. But what choice do you have? Stay here and wait for your uncle to find you? Run with a bullet wound and 2 newborns and hope you make it to the next city? Han's voice was pragmatic. Or accept help from someone who wants the same thing you do, a future that doesn't end in blood. Silence. Maya held her breath. I need guarantees, Jay said. For Maya. For the children. They get full protection, new identities if necessary, resources to disappear if this goes wrong. Agreed. And Maya gets a choice. She's not part of this world. If she wants to walk away after we're safe, you let her go. No obligations. No debts. Maya's throat tightened. Even now, even negotiating for his life, Jay was protecting her right to choose. Fair enough, Han said. Do we have a deal? Another long silence. Then, Maya. You can come out. Maya unlocked the bathroom door slowly, stepping out with a baby carrier in each hand. The door to her apartment was open now and she could see into the hallway. Han De-young was younger than she'd expected, maybe late 30s, dressed in a simple suit, no visible weapons. He looked more like a businessman than an enforcer. When he saw Maya, he bowed slightly. Miss Chen, I apologize for frightening you. You knew my name, Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt. You knew where I lived. How? Security footage from the hospital parking garage. Partial license plate on your vehicle. Once we had that, finding you was simple. Han's expression was apologetic. I'm sorry. I know this must be terrifying. Terrifying doesn't begin to cover it. Maya looked at Jay, who'd struggled to his feet despite his wound, the gun still in his hand but lowered now. Is he telling the truth? Can we trust him? I don't know, Jay admitted. But he's right about one thing. We're out of options. Maya looked at the twins, still sleeping peacefully. Looked at Jay, pale and feverish and barely able to stand. Looked at Han, who was watching her with something that might have been genuine sympathy. If I agree to this, if I help, what happens to me? She asked. I'm a nurse. I have a life here, a job, a career. I can't just disappear into witness protection or whatever you're offering. You won't have to, Han said. Once Jay's uncle is dealt with, you can return to your normal life. The Baekpa takes care of its own, Miss Chen. And whether you like it or not, you became one of ours the moment you pressed your hands against his wound and refused to let him bleed out. Maya wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she wasn't part of any criminal organization, wasn't connected to this world of violence and power struggles. But looking at Jay, at the way he was watching her with hope and fear and something deeper, she knew it was already too late. She'd made her choice in that parking garage. Everything that came after was just consequence. Where do we go? She asked quietly. Han's smile was genuine. I have a car waiting downstairs. There's a safe house in Westchester, secure, off the grid with medical facilities. We can get Jay proper treatment, keep the children safe and plan our next move. And if Jay's uncle finds us? He won't. Han's voice was confident. I've been planning this for months, Miss Chen. I don't make mistakes. Maya looked at Jay one more time. He nodded slightly, trusting her judgment, leaving the final decision to her. She took a deep breath. Hey, let's go. 15 minutes later, they were loading into a black SUV with tinted windows. Han had brought two men with him, silent, efficient, professional. They carried the babies with surprising gentleness, helped Jay into the back seat with careful hands. Maya sat beside Jay, her medical bag clutched in her lap, watching her apartment building disappear in the rearview mirror. Everything she owned was in that tiny studio. Clothes, books, the few photographs she had of her parents. But she couldn't go back. Not now. Maybe not ever. You okay? Jay's voice was quiet, meant only for her. No, Maya admitted. But I don't think I have been for a while. At least now I'm not okay for a reason. His hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. I'll keep you safe. I swear it. Keep yourself safe first. She squeezed his hand. Your children need you. They need you too, Jay said softly. Already. I see the way they calm when you hold them. The way Cian watches you. They know you're safe. Maya looked at the twins, secured in their car seats, sleeping through yet another upheaval in their tiny lives. 3 weeks old and they'd already survived more than most people experienced in a lifetime. What are we doing, Jay? She whispered. What are we actually doing? Surviving, he said simply. Together. That's all that matters right now. The SUV merged onto the highway, heading north toward Westchester and whatever waited for them there. Maya leaned her head against Jay's shoulder, felt him relax slightly at the contact. Behind them, in the city they were leaving, Jay's uncle was planning his next move. Armed men were searching for them. The entire criminal underworld was watching to see who would survive this power struggle. But in this moment, in this car, they were safe. They were together. And somehow, impossibly, that felt like enough. Maya closed her eyes and let herself breathe. Tomorrow would bring new dangers, new choices, new consequences. But tonight they'd survived. And sometimes, survival was the only victory that mattered. The safe house wasn't what Maya expected. She'd imagined something out of a crime movie. Concrete bunker, barred windows, the kind of place that screamed hiding. Instead, the SUV pulled up to a beautiful colonial home set back from the road, surrounded by mature trees and manicured gardens. It looked like it belonged to a wealthy family, not a crime lord on the run. Welcome to Sanctuary, Han said as he opened Maya's door. The house belongs to a shell corporation. No connection to the Beckpaw on paper. Your neighbors think you're a young family recovering from a car accident. The husband, he gestured to Jay, is a tech entrepreneur working remotely while he heals. The wife, he looked at Maya, is a nurse caring for him and their newborn twins. Maya's stomach flipped. Wife. Cover story, Han said smoothly. Easier to explain why a single woman is living with a wounded man and 2 babies. Plus, married couples draw less attention than complicated arrangements. Jay was already being helped from the vehicle by Han's men, his face gray with pain and exhaustion. The 15-minute drive had cost him. Maya could see fresh blood seeping through the bandages beneath his shirt. He needs medical attention now, Maya said, shifting into nurse mode. You said this place has medical facilities? 2nd floor. Fully equipped. We have a doctor on call, but Han looked at her meaningfully. We'd prefer to keep the staff minimal. The fewer people who know you're here, the safer you are. Which meant Maya would be handling Jay's care herself. Fine. She'd done it this far. The house's interior was just as impressive as the exterior. Hardwood floors, expensive furniture, the kind of tasteful decor that spoke of money and careful planning. But Maya barely registered it as Han led them upstairs to what he'd called the medical room. It was better than some clinics Maya had worked in. Full exam table, cabinets stocked with supplies for scans, monitoring equipment, even a small surgical setup. Someone had planned for exactly this scenario. Get him on the table, Maya ordered, already washing her hands at the sink. Han's men obeyed immediately, helping Jay settle onto the table with surprising gentleness. I'll leave you to work, Han said from the doorway. The twins' nursery is set up across the hall. Everything you need, formula, diapers, clothes, bottles. There's a monitor system so you can hear them from anywhere in the house. Thank you, Maya said, not looking up as she gathered supplies. Miss Chen. Han's voice made her pause. What you're doing, Helping him, protecting those children. It matters. More than you know. Then he was gone, the door closing softly behind him. Maya turned her full attention to Jay. His eyes were closed, his breathing shallow and rapid. The fever had climbed higher. She could feel the heat radiating off him before she even touched his forehead. Jay. Can you hear me? His eyes fluttered open. Maya. I need to clean the wound properly, check for infection. This is going to hurt more than last time. She began cutting away the blood-soaked bandages. Can you stay conscious for me? I'll try. The wound looked worse than before. The edges were inflamed, angry red spreading outward. Infection had taken hold despite the antibiotics. Maya's heart sank. She needed to debride the wound, cut away infected tissue or risk sepsis. This is going to be bad, she said honestly. I have local anesthetic here, but it's not going to be enough. You're going to feel most of it. Jay's hand found hers, squeezed once. Do what you have to do. I trust you. Those 3 words, I trust you, gave Maya strength she didn't know she had. She injected local anesthetic around the wound site, waited 60 seconds for it to take partial effect, then began. Jay made sounds he tried to suppress. His whole body went rigid, muscles locked in agony, but he didn't scream. Didn't beg her to stop. He just gripped the edges of the exam table until his knuckles went white and endured. Maya worked as quickly as she could, removing infected tissue, irrigating the wound with saline, checking for any debris she'd missed during the initial extraction. The bullet had fragmented slightly. She found 2 small pieces of metal she'd missed before. No wonder the infection had taken hold so aggressively. 20 minutes that felt like hours. When Maya finally finished, her hands were shaking and Jay's face was wet with tears he hadn't let himself shed aloud. Done, she whispered, cleaning the area one final time before applying fresh bandages. The worst is over. Jay's eyes opened, focusing on her with effort. You're incredible. I'm a nurse doing my job. No. His hand reached up, cupping her cheek despite the tremor in his fingers. You're so much more than that. Maya's breath caught. They were so close, she could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could count his eyelashes, could feel the heat of his fever against her palm. Something electric passed between them, something that had been building since the parking garage. A cry from across the hall shattered the moment. Hyunwoo, his distinctive wail rising above his sister's fussing. Feeding time. Maya stepped back, needing distance. Go, Jay said softly. They need you. Maya fled to the nursery, her heart pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with medical emergencies. The nursery was beautiful. 2 cribs, a changing table, a rocking chair by the window. Someone had stocked it with everything. Clothes in multiple sizes, enough diapers to last weeks, formula bottles, even toys the twins were too young to appreciate yet. Maya lifted Hyunwoo first, his small body warm and solid against her chest. His crying stopped immediately at being held, replaced by small fussy sounds that meant hungry. She settled into the rocking chair, cradling him as she offered the bottle. He latched on eagerly, his dark eyes watching her face with that intense newborn stare. Your daddy is going to be okay, Maya whispered. I promise. I'm going to make sure of it. Suyun started crying, jealous of her brother's attention. Maya smiled despite everything. I know, sweet girl. Your turn is coming. She fed both babies, changed them, held them against her shoulder and rocked while they settled into sleep. This was the part of nursing she'd always loved. The quiet moments, the simple acts of care, the feeling that what she was doing mattered in tangible, immediate ways. By the time both twins were asleep in their cribs, Maya's exhaustion was catching up to her. She'd been awake for nearly 36 hours straight. Her body ached, her mind felt fuzzy, and she desperately needed rest. But she needed to check on Jay first. She found him still on the exam table, but someone, probably one of Han's men, had covered him with a blanket and adjusted the table so he could rest more comfortably. His eyes were closed, but his breathing sounded better. More even. Maya checked his vitals. Temperature down to 101.2, still high but better. Pulse steady. Blood pressure stable. The antibiotics were working finally. She started in 4-line, hung a bag of fluids to combat dehydration, then set up the monitoring equipment. His oxygen levels were good, heartbeat strong. He was going to make it. Relief flooded through her so intensely that her knees went weak. She sank into the chair beside the exam table, her hand finding his automatically. Maya. His voice was rough but clearer than before. You should sleep. I will. Just, let me make sure you're stable first. I'm stable. He turned his head to look at her, and even exhausted and wounded, he was devastating. Thanks to you. Again. Stop thanking me. I'm just. Don't say you're just doing your job. Jay's fingers tightened on hers. You're doing so much more than that. You've saved my life twice now. You're caring for my children like they're yours. You left your entire life behind to help people you barely know. Maybe I didn't have much of a life to leave behind, Maya admitted quietly. Tell me. It wasn't quite a command, more like a request. Tell me about your life before the parking garage. Maya was quiet for a moment, deciding how much to share. But something about the darkness, the intimacy of the moment, made her want to talk. My parents died 3 years ago. Car accident. The words came out flat, rehearsed from repetition. I was in medical school second year. After they died, I dropped out. Couldn't focus, couldn't handle the pressure. I switched to nursing school instead. Shorter program, faster to employment. You became a nurse because of them. I became a nurse because I needed to do something that mattered. Something that would make their deaths mean something. Maya stared at their joined hands. They died because the paramedics took too long. Because the ER was understaffed. Because 1,000 small failures added up to them bleeding out before anyone could help them. I thought if I became a nurse, if I was there in those critical moments, maybe I could save someone else's parents. Someone else's family. Have you? Jay asked softly. Sometimes. Not always. She blinked back tears. There's a man who died on my table 3 nights ago. I did everything right, textbook perfect, and he still died. And I kept thinking, what's the point? What's the point of all this training, all this knowledge, if people still die anyway? And then you found me. And then I found you. Maya looked up, met his eyes. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I was making a difference. Like the things I know, the skills I have, they mattered. You're alive because I knew what to do. Your children are safe because I didn't walk away. Jay brought her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that sent heat racing up her arm. You saved us, Maya Chen. In every way a person can be saved. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Maya wanted to kiss him, desperately, urgently wanted to close the distance between them and taste his mouth. But he was her patient. He was wounded, feverish, depending on her for his life. Kissing him would be crossing a line she couldn't uncross. So she just squeezed his hand and stood. Sleep, Jay. Let your body heal. Stay. His grip tightened. Please. Just until I fall asleep. Maya settled back into the chair, her hand still in his. She watched his breathing even out, watched his face relax as pain medication and exhaustion pulled him under. Even in sleep he didn't let go of her hand. A soft knock on the door made Maya look up. Han stood in the doorway, his expression carefully neutral. How is he? Stable. The infection is responding to treatment. He needs rest and time, but he'll recover. Han nodded, then stepped into the room. May I speak with you? Privately. Maya gently extracted her hand from Jay's and followed Han into the hallway, closing the door behind her. What is it? I need you to understand the situation you're in, Han said quietly. Not to frighten you, but because you deserve the truth. Maya's stomach tightened. Okay. Jay's uncle Sungmin has put out a bounty. $5 million for proof of Jay's death. $3 million for the twins alive. Han's expression was grim. He's framing it as justice, claiming Jay betrayed the Baekpa, that the children aren't legitimate heirs because their mother was an outsider. That's insane. Jiwoo was Korean. She wasn't from a crime family. In the old code that makes her an outsider. Han's jaw tightened. Sungmin is using every excuse he can to justify what he's doing. And there are enough old guard members who agree with him that it's working. Maya's mind reeled. $3 million for the babies. What does that mean? It means he'll use them as leverage. Raise them to be loyal to him instead of their father. Or, Han paused, clearly not wanting to say it. Or kill them, Maya finished, her voice hollow. Yes. She thought about Suyun and Hyunwoo sleeping peacefully in the nursery. Tiny, innocent, completely dependent on the adults around them to keep them safe. The idea of anyone hurting them made rage burn in her chest. How long until Sungmin finds us? I don't know. Days, maybe weeks if we're lucky. Han met her eyes. Which is why I need to move quickly. I have support within the organization. People who are disgusted by what Sungmin did, who want Jae to take back control. But we need leverage. We need something that proves Sungmin is unfit to lead. Like what? Like evidence of his other crimes. The ones even the Baekpa considers unacceptable. Han pulled out his phone, showed her a photograph. This is Kim Minji. She's 17. 3 months ago, Sungmin's men grabbed her off the street and forced her into one of his illegal brothels. When her family tried to file a police report, they were threatened into silence. Maya's stomach turned. He's trafficking minors. Among other things. Forced labor, organ harvesting, things that violate every code we have. Han's voice was tight with controlled anger. Your Jae has been trying to shut down these operations for 2 years. Every time he gets close, Sungmin moves them, hides the evidence. But I know where they are. I have locations, witness statements, financial records. So expose him. Go to the police. The police can't touch him. He owns too many officials, has too much dirt on too many people. Han's expression was bleak. The only justice that works in our world is the kind we make ourselves. I need Jae healthy enough to stand before the council. I need him to present this evidence and force them to choose. Support a man who traffics children, or support the leader trying to drag us out of the darkness. Maya processed this. And if the council chooses Sungmin anyway? Then we go to war. And a lot of people die. Han looked at her steadily. Including probably all of us in this house. The weight of it pressed down on Maya's shoulders. She thought she was just saving 1 man and 2 babies. She hadn't realized she was stepping into the middle of a war for the soul of an entire criminal organization. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you deserve to know what you're risking your life for. And because, Han paused, choosing his words carefully, Jae is going to need you. Not just as a nurse but as someone who believes in him. Someone who reminds him why he's fighting. I'm a stranger. I barely know him. You know him better than most of his own organization. Han smiled slightly. You've seen him at his weakest, most vulnerable. You've seen him as a father first, a crime boss second. That perspective is valuable, Miss Chen. Don't underestimate it. Before Maya could respond, an alarm went off, shrill and insistent. Han's phone buzzed. He looked at it and his expression went hard. Someone just triggered the perimeter sensors. We have company. Maya's blood went cold. Already? How? I don't know. But we need to move. Now. Han was already walking toward the stairs, speaking rapidly into his phone in Korean. Maya ran back to the medical room. Jae was struggling to sit up, his face pale but alert. What's happening? Someone found us. We need to move you and the twins. Maya helped him stand, his weight heavy against her side. Can you walk? I'll manage. They made it to the nursery just as Seun started crying, as if she sensed the danger. Maya grabbed both car seats, somehow managing their weight despite her exhaustion. Jae leaned against the wall, the gun appearing in his hand again. Han appeared at the top of the stairs. Back in trance. Cars waiting. We have maybe 3 minutes. They moved as quickly as Jae's condition allowed. Down the back stairs, through the kitchen, out into the cool night air. Maya could hear sounds now. Car engines shouted orders. Multiple vehicles. The SUV was running, back door open. Han's men were taking defensive positions around the property, weapons drawn. This wasn't a few opportunistic bounty hunters. This was a coordinated assault. Maya got the baby secured first, then helped Jae into the back seat. He was breathing hard, fresh blood seeping through his shirt. The movement had torn something. Go, Han said to the driver. Then to Maya. There's another safe house. My man knows where. Trust no one else. What about you? I'm going to buy you time. Han's smile was grim. And maybe send a message to Sungmin about what happens when you threaten children. Gunfire erupted before Maya could respond. The driver didn't wait. He floored the accelerator, sending them racing down the driveway even as bullets pinged off the armored exterior. Maya threw herself over the car seats, shielding the babies with her body. Beside her, Jae had his gun out, watching the back window. More gunfire, the sound of engines pursuing them. Hold on, the driver said calmly, then took a turn so sharp Maya was thrown against Jay. They raced through residential streets, the driver taking turns with precision that spoke of extensive training. Behind them, two vehicles gave chase. One got close enough that Maya could see the men inside. Hard faces, professional killers. The driver took another sharp turn, then another. They were heading for the highway for the anonymity of traffic. They could just make it. One of the pursuing vehicles rammed them from behind. Maya's head snapped forward, her teeth clacking together. The babies screamed. Jay fired twice out the back window, shattering glass. "We're not going to outrun them," the driver said. "I'm going to lose them the hard way." "What does that?" The driver yanked the wheel hard left, jumping the median and crossing into oncoming traffic. Horns blared. Cars swerved. Maya's heart was in her throat as they wove between vehicles at 70 miles per hour. One pursuing vehicle tried to follow. It wasn't as lucky, clipped a sedan, spun out, crashed into the barrier with a sound of crunching metal. But the second vehicle made it through, still closing the distance. "There," Jay said, pointing ahead. "That exit. Take it." The driver obeyed without question, taking the exit ramp so fast they went up on two wheels. Maya clutched the car seats, praying they wouldn't flip. They didn't. The driver regained control, racing down a dark street that wound into an industrial area. Warehouses, abandoned factories, the kind of place where bad things happened and nobody asked questions. "In there," Jay directed, pointing to a particular warehouse. The driver crashed through a chain-link fence, drove straight into an open loading bay, then killed the engine and lights. Darkness. Complete and total. Maya's breathing was the loudest sound in the universe. That and the twins crying, frightened by the chaos. "Shoo," she whispered, lifting Suyun from her car seat, cradling the baby against her chest. "Shoo, sweet girl. I've got you." Jay had Hyunwoo, rocking him gently despite his own pain. The baby's cries softened but didn't stop completely. Outside they heard the pursuing vehicle slow, then stop. Footsteps. Voices speaking Korean. Jay's hand found Maya's in the darkness. His grip was tight, protective. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "take the twins and run. Don't look back. I'm not leaving you." "Maya." "No." She squeezed his hand hard. "We survive together or not at all. Those are the only options." The footsteps were getting closer. Maya could see flashlight beams cutting through the darkness, searching. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might give them away. A phone rang. Loud, insistent. One of the hunters answered it, spoke rapidly in Korean. Then silence. Then footsteps retreating. The vehicle outside started up, drove away. Maya didn't breathe until the sound of the engine faded completely. "They're gone," Jay said, his voice tight with pain and relief. "Someone called them off. Han. Maybe. Or," he paused. "Or Sungmin wants us afraid. Wants us to make mistakes." The driver turned the engine back on, flooding the car with light. He looked at Jay in the rearview mirror. "Sir. Drive. Carefully. Take the long route to the backup safe house." Jay settled back against the seat, his face gray. "And call Han. Find out if he's alive." They drove through the night, taking random turns, doubling back, making sure they weren't followed. The twins finally settled into exhausted sleep. Maya held Suyun the whole time, feeling the baby's heartbeat against her chest. Jay's phone rang. He answered it, spoke in rapid Korean, then hung up. "Han's alive," he said. He took down 4 of their men, convinced the rest to retreat. "But the house is compromised. We can't go back." "Where do we go?" "The backup safe house. It's smaller, more remote. Less comfortable." Jay looked at her, his eyes dark with guilt and something else. "I'm sorry. You should be home right now, sleeping in your own bed, living your normal life. Instead you're running for your life because you were kind enough to help a stranger." Maya thought about her tiny apartment, her empty bed, the loneliness that had defined her life for 3 years. Then she looked at the baby in her arms, at Jay watching her with an expression that made her chest tight. "My normal life was killing me slowly," she said quietly. "At least this way, if I die, it'll be for something that matters." Jay reached across the space between them, his hand cupping her cheek. "You matter, Maya Chen. More than you know." The moment stretched between them, charged, electric, full of things neither of them was ready to say aloud. Then Hyunwoo whimpered, breaking the spell. Jay turned his attention to his son, murmuring soft words in Korean. Maya looked out the window at the dark city passing by and wondered what she'd gotten herself into. Wondered if she'd survive long enough to find out. But holding Suyun, feeling the baby's trust and warmth, Maya knew she'd made the right choice. Even if it killed her. The backup safe house was a cabin in the Catskills, 2 hours north of the city. It sat at the end of a winding dirt road, surrounded by dense forest that would make any approach visible long before visitors arrived. The sun was just beginning to rise as they pulled up, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that felt absurd given the night they'd just survived. Maya carried both car seats inside while the driver helped Jay. The cabin was rustic but well-maintained, one large room serving as kitchen and living area, a bedroom barely big enough for a queen bed, and a bathroom with a shower that had seen better decades. Nothing like the colonial house they'd fled. "It's not much," the driver said in accented English. His name was Park, Maya had learned during the drive. Mid-40s, former military, loyal to Jay since before his father died. "But it's secure. No one knows about this place except Mr. Han and myself." "It's perfect," Maya said, meaning it. The cabin felt safe in a way the bigger house hadn't. Small enough to defend, isolated enough to see threats coming. Park nodded. "I'll do a perimeter check, set up early warning systems. There's food in the kitchen, supplies in the closet. Everything you need for a few days at least." He looked at Jay, who'd collapsed into a chair at the small kitchen table. "Sir, I'll stay close. Anything you need, you call." "Thank you, Park." Jay's voice was strained. "And thank you for getting us out." "Just doing my job, sir." Park bowed slightly, then left, closing the door quietly behind him. Maya and Jay looked at each other across the small space. The twins were still asleep, miraculous given everything. Dawn light filtered through the windows, illuminating the exhaustion on both their faces. "You're bleeding again," Maya said, noticing the fresh blood on Jay's shirt. "I know. Let me look at it." "Maya, you need to sleep. You've been awake for 38 hours, yes. I'll sleep after I make sure you're not hemorrhaging." She was already moving toward him, her nurse's training overriding her exhaustion. "Shirt off. Now." Jay obeyed without argument, too tired to fight. Maya carefully peeled away the blood-soaked bandage, assessing the damage. The wound had reopened partially, not catastrophically but enough to need attention. "The medical supplies from the house?" she asked. "In the bag Park brought in." Maya found the bag, grateful that someone had thought to grab it during the evacuation. She cleaned the wound, resutured the torn section, and applied fresh bandages with practiced efficiency. Jay endured it silently, his jaw clenched against pain. "You need to stop moving so much," Maya said as she secured the final piece of tape. "Every time you push yourself, you risk tearing it open again." "Noted." Jay's hand caught hers as she stepped back. "Maya, I need to say something. If it's another apology." "It's not." He pulled her gently until she was standing between his legs, his hands resting on her hips. The position was intimate, almost overwhelming in its proximity. "I need to thank you. Not for the medical care, not for saving my life. For staying. For choosing to be here when you could have walked away a dozen times." Maya's breath caught. "Where else would I go? Home. Back to your apartment, your job, your life. You could have called the police from the first safe house, turned us over, collected witness protection and a fresh start." His thumbs traced small circles on her hips through her scrubs. "Instead you're here in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, taking care of my children like they're yours." "They feel like mine," Maya admitted quietly. "Is that crazy? 3 days and I already can't imagine my life without them." "It's not crazy." Jay's voice was rough. "They love you already. I can see it in how they calm when you hold them, how Suyun watches you. You're their mother in every way that matters." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Mother. She'd never thought about having children, had assumed that part of life wasn't for her. But holding Suyun and Hyunwoo, feeding them, soothing them, keeping them safe, it felt right in a way nothing else in her life had. "Their mother was Ji-woo," Maya said. "I'm just." "You're the woman raising them. The woman who nearly died protecting them. The woman who chose them over safety." Jay's hands moved from her hips to frame her face, his touch gentle despite the strength in his fingers. "Ji-woo would have loved you for that. Would have been grateful beyond words that her children found you. Tears burned Maya's eyes. I wish I could have met her. She would have liked you. You're both stubborn, both brilliant, both see the world with more compassion than it deserves. A sad smile crossed Jay's face. She always said the Bekpa needed people like that. People who wouldn't let us forget our humanity. Is that why you're trying to change things? Because of her. Partly. But also because of them. Jay glanced at the sleeping twins. I want Suyun and Hyunwoo to grow up proud of their father, not ashamed. Want them to have choices I never had. And I can't give them that if I'm still running an organization built on fear and violence. Maya studied his face. The exhaustion, the pain, but also the determination. Jae Minho wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting for redemption, for transformation, for the chance to be worthy of his children's love. You're a good father, she said softly. I'm trying to be. His forehead rested against hers, their breath mingling. But I'm failing them every day. I can't keep them safe. You're keeping them alive. That's what matters right now. They stayed like that for a long moment. Foreheads touching, hands on each other, sharing breath and space. Maya knew she should step back, should maintain professional distance. But she was so tired of being alone, tired of being strong by herself. And Jay felt solid and warm and real in a way nothing had for 3 years. Maya, he whispered. If I kiss you right now, will you regret it in the morning? Her heart stuttered. It is morning. You know what I mean. She did. And she also knew that kissing him would change everything, would cross a line from nurse and patient to something far more complicated and dangerous. But standing here in his arms, feeling his heart beating against her palm where it rested on his bare chest, Maya couldn't find a reason to care about complications. I don't think I could regret anything about you, she said. Jay's kiss was gentle at first, questioning, giving her room to pull away. But Maya didn't pull away. She leaned in, her hands sliding up his chest to his shoulders, careful of his injury but hungry for more contact. The kiss deepened. Jay's hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer. Maya tasted desperation on his lips, mixed with relief and longing and something that felt dangerously close to love. She kissed him back with 3 years of loneliness, with exhaustion that had burned away her defenses, with feelings she didn't have words for yet. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jay rested his forehead against hers again. I'm falling for you, he said quietly. I know it's fast, know it's insane given everything. But I need you to know. Need you to understand what you mean to me. Jay. You don't have to say anything back. You don't owe me feelings just because you saved my life. His thumb traced her lower lip, the touch sending shivers down her spine. I just needed you to know. Maya wanted to say it back, wanted to tell him she was falling too, that every moment with him felt like coming home to a place she'd never been. But the words caught in her throat, tangled up with fear and doubt and the knowledge that they might not survive long enough for any of this to matter. A cry from across the room saved her from having to respond. Hyunwoo awake and demanding attention. Maya stepped back, immediately missing Jay's warmth. I should go. Take care of him. Jay's smile was understanding. We have time to figure this out. Did they though? With bounties on their heads and killers hunting them? But Maya didn't say that. She just crossed to the car seats and lifted Hyunwoo, his small body warm and solid against her chest. Hey sweet boy. You hungry? She fed both twins, changed them, then settled into the cabin's only comfortable chair with Suyun in her arms. The baby was awake but quiet, her dark eyes tracking Maya's face with that intense newborn stare. Your daddy is stubborn, Maya whispered. Won't rest even though he's hurt. Sound familiar? Suyun made a small sound, not quite a coo but close. At 3 weeks old she was right on the edge of social smiling. Another week or two and she'd start responding to faces with genuine smiles instead of just gas-induced grimaces. Maya found herself looking forward to that. To seeing this tiny girl's personality emerge, watching her grow, being there for all the small miracles of development. The realization hit her hard. She wasn't planning to leave. Wasn't thinking of this as temporary. Somewhere in the past 3 days, these children and their father had become her family. Jay had moved to the bedroom, finally giving in to exhaustion. Maya could hear his breathing even out into sleep. She should sleep too, her body was screaming for it. But she was afraid to close her eyes, afraid that if she let her guard down, something terrible would happen. A soft knock on the door made her tense. But it was just Park carrying supplies. Mr. Han called, he said quietly, setting bags on the kitchen counter. He's alive but injured. He'll be out of commission for a few days. How bad? Gunshot to the leg. He's in surgery now. Park's expression was grim. But he gave us valuable information before they put him under. He knows who betrayed our location. Maya's stomach dropped. Who? One of the housekeepers at the first safe house. She's been on Sungmin's payroll for months, feeding him information. Park's jaw tightened. She's been dealt with. Maya didn't ask what dealt with meant. Didn't want to know. Is this place compromised too? No. Only Mr. Han and I know about this cabin. And we're keeping it that way. Park glanced at the bedroom where Jay slept. How is he really? Healing. But he pushed himself too hard during the escape. He needs at least a week of real rest before he should be moving around, much less planning anything. He won't give himself a week. Park's smile was sad. Mr. J isn't built that way. He'll push himself until he breaks because that's what his father taught him to do. Then we don't give him a choice. Maya's voice was firm. I'm his nurse. What I say goes when it comes to his health. Park's smile widened. I like you, Miss Chen. You're good for him. First person I've seen stand up to him since his wife died. After Park left, Maya finally let herself sleep. She settled on the couch with both babies in their car seats beside her, one hand resting on each carrier. If anything happened, if anyone tried to take them, she'd know immediately. She woke to the smell of cooking. Disoriented, Maya sat up to find Jay in the kitchen, moving carefully but efficiently as he prepared food. You should be resting, she said, her voice rough with sleep. I rested. 4 hours. That's more than I've gotten in days. He glanced over his shoulder and the smile he gave her made her heart skip. You were sleeping so peacefully I didn't want to wake you. And the twins have been perfect. Awake but quiet. Maya looked at the babies. Both were awake, staring at nothing in particular with that unfocused newborn gaze. Content for now. What time is it? 2 in the afternoon. You slept for almost 6 hours. 6 hours. Felt like 10 minutes. Maya's body still ached with exhaustion, but her mind was clearer. She stood, stretching carefully. What are you making? Kimchi jjigae. Korean stew. It's comfort food, what my mother used to make when I was sick as a child. Jay stirred the pot on the small stove. I thought we could both use some comfort. The domesticity of it was surreal. A crime lord cooking soup in a tiny cabin while his newborn twins dozed nearby and a woman he barely knew woke from sleep on the couch. It should have felt wrong, but instead it felt painfully right. Maya moved to the kitchen, standing beside Jay to look into the pot. The stew smelled incredible, spicy and savory and complex. Jiwoo taught me to cook, Jay said quietly. Said if I was going to be a father, I needed to know how to feed my family properly. Not just throw money at nannies and chefs. She sounds like she was amazing. She was. Jay's voice held old pain but also warmth. She would have liked this. Me cooking for you while you protect our children. She always said the Baekpa needed more women like her. Strong, smart, unwilling to take bullshit from men who thought they knew better. Maya smiled. I think I really would have liked her. They ate together at the small table, the stew warming Maya from the inside out. It was the first real meal she'd had in days. Hospital cafeteria food and stolen granola bars didn't count. Jay watched her eat with satisfaction. You're too thin, he observed. When was the last time you had a proper meal? Probably the same time you did. Then we're both failing at self-care. Jay refilled her bowl without asking. Eat. You need your strength. After the meal, Jay insisted on cleaning up despite Maya's protests. She fed the twins again, marveling at how much more alert they seemed already. 3 weeks old and their personalities were emerging. Hyunwoo fierce and demanding, Suyun quieter but intensely observant. Talk to me, Jay said as he dried dishes. Tell me something about yourself I don't know. You don't know anything about me. I know you're brilliant, compassionate and brave to the point of recklessness. I know you take your coffee black, that you hum when you're concentrating, and that you cry when you think no one is watching. His eyes found hers. But I want to know more. The small things. The things that make you who you are. Maya was quiet for a moment, cradling Suyun against her shoulder. I wanted to be a concert pianist when I was a kid. Practiced 4 hours a day, won competitions, had teachers telling me I could be great. What happened? My parents couldn't afford a good piano. Couldn't pay for the right schools, the right connections. And I realized that wanting something wasn't enough. Sometimes the world just doesn't care what you want. She smiled sadly. So I gave it up. Focused on studying, on getting into medical school, on building a life that didn't depend on dreams. Do you still play? Haven't touched a piano in 5 years. Jay was quiet for a long moment. Then, when this is over, I'm buying you a piano. The best one money can buy. And you're going to play for me. Jay. I'm serious. You gave up enough, Maya. You don't have to give up everything. He crossed to her, sat on the arm of the chair so he could look at both her and Siyun. Promise me. When this is over, you'll play again. When this is over, I'll probably be in witness protection or dead. Or you'll be here with me raising these children and living the life we both deserve. His hand cupped her cheek. I know you're scared. I'm terrified. But I also know that what we have, whatever this is between us, it's worth fighting for. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to protect herself from hoping for a future that seemed impossible. But looking into Jay's eyes, feeling the warmth of his touch, holding his daughter against her heart, she couldn't make herself push him away. I'm falling for you too, she whispered. And it scares me to death. Good. Jay's smile was small but genuine. We can be terrified together. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he kissed her softly, carefully, mindful of the baby between them. It was different from the desperate kiss that morning. This one was tender, promising, full of possibility instead of just need. They were interrupted by Maya's phone buzzing. She'd forgotten she even had it. Park must have charged it while she slept. The screen showed an unknown number. Don't answer it, Jay said immediately. But Maya's nurse instincts kicked in. Unknown numbers at odd hours usually meant emergencies. She answered, pulling back from Jay. Hello. Maya Chen. The voice was female, older, speaking with careful precision. My name is Dr. Sarah Kim. I'm the director of nursing at St. Catherine's Hospital. We need to talk about your absence. Maya's blood went cold. She'd completely forgotten about work, about the shifts she was supposed to cover, the responsibilities she'd abandoned. Dr. Kim, I'm so sorry. There was a family emergency. I'm aware. I'm also aware that the family emergency involves harboring a fugitive wanted in connection with multiple homicides. Dr. Kim's voice was ice. The police have been here, Maya. They're looking for you. And they're not the only ones. Maya's hand tightened on the phone. What do you mean? 3 men came to the hospital this morning. Korean, well-dressed, asking about you. About what shifts you work, where you live, who your friends are. Pause. They offered the receptionist $5,000 for your home address. Did she tell them? No. But someone else might have. You need to understand the position you've put this hospital in. We're being investigated because one of our nurses is aiding and abetting a known criminal. Dr. Kim, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you disappeared in the middle of your shift? Why your apartment is covered in blood? Why witnesses saw you leaving the parking garage with a wounded man and 2 infants? Dr. Kim's voice sharpened. The police think you've been kidnapped, Maya. They think you're in danger. Are you? Maya looked at Jay, who was listening to her side of the conversation with growing tension. Was she in danger? Objectively, yes. She was hiding in a cabin with a crime lord while assassins hunted them. But she'd never felt safer in her life. I'm fine, she said carefully. I'm safe. I'm exactly where I want to be. Then you're making a terrible mistake. Dr. Kim sighed. I've known you for 3 years, Maya. You're one of my best nurses. Smart, dedicated, compassionate. This isn't you. Whatever hold this man has over you. He doesn't have a hold over me. I'm helping him because it's the right thing to do. Helping a criminal is never the right thing. What if the real criminals are the ones hunting him? What if I'm protecting innocent children from being murdered? Maya's voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. Did the police tell you about the bounty on these babies? About the uncle trying to kill them to steal his power? Silence on the other end. Then, the police didn't mention children. Because they don't care. Because in their world, these babies are just collateral damage in a gang war. Maya's throat tightened. But I care. And I'm not abandoning them. Another long silence. When Dr. Kim spoke again, her voice was softer. You're going to lose your nursing license over this. Possibly go to jail. Is he worth that? Maya looked at Jae, at his dark eyes watching her with a mixture of guilt and hope. Looked at Suyun sleeping peacefully in her arms. They're worth everything, she said quietly. Then I'm sorry, Maya. Sorry you've thrown away your career for people who will probably get you killed. Dr. Kim's voice was sad now, almost maternal. I have to report this conversation to the police. I don't have a choice. I know. I'm sorry for putting you in this position. If you change your mind, if you want help getting away from him, call me. Day or night. I'll help you however I can. The line went dead. Maya sat there for a moment processing. Her job was gone. The police were looking for her. The hospital thought she'd been kidnapped or brainwashed. Her entire normal life had evaporated in 3 days. I'm sorry, Jae said quietly. This is my fault. No. It was my choice. Maya set the phone down. All of it. Every decision. I chose this. You can still walk away. I'll have Park drive you to a police station, let you tell them you were coerced. Jae. Stop. Maya turned to face him fully. I just told my boss I'm not leaving. I meant it. I'm exactly where I want to be. Something fierce and grateful flashed in Jae's eyes. He pulled her close, careful of Suyun between them, and buried his face in her hair. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Probably not. Maya's laugh was shaky. But you're stuck with me anyway. They stayed like that until Hyun-woo started fussing, demanding attention. Maya passed Suyun to Jae and lifted her brother, and for a while they just sat together on the couch, each holding a baby, existing in this small bubble of safety while the world outside grew increasingly dangerous. Park arrived as the sun was setting, his expression grim. Sir. We have a problem. Jae's whole body tensed. What is it? Mr. Han is missing. He disappeared from the hospital 3 hours ago. No one knows where he is or who took him. Maya's stomach dropped. Han was their ally, their inside contact, the one person planning their strategy against Sungmin. If he was gone, dead or taken? Jae asked, his voice controlled, but Maya could hear the tension beneath. Unknown. But there was blood in his hospital room. A lot of blood. Park pulled out his phone, showed them a photo. The hospital room was destroyed. Overturned furniture, blood splattered across walls, signs of a violent struggle. Sungmin has him, Jae said flatly. He's going to torture him for information about our location. Han won't break easily, Park said. But everyone breaks eventually. Jae stood carefully, his hand automatically going to his wounded side. How long do we have? Maybe a day. Maybe hours. Park looked at Maya, then back to Jae. We need to move again. This location isn't safe anymore. No. Jae's voice was firm. We stop running. Sir. I'm tired of reacting, Park. Tired of letting my uncle dictate our moves. It's time we went on offense. Jae's expression hardened into something Maya recognized from the photos she'd seen online. The cold, dangerous crime boss who'd built an empire. Call everyone still loyal to me. Everyone who's disgusted by what Sungmin did. Tell them it's time to choose sides. You're not strong enough for a confrontation, Maya said. You can barely stand without pain. Then I'll fight sitting down. Jae looked at her, and his eyes held both apology and determination. I won't risk you and the children anymore. This ends now. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to insist they keep hiding until Jae was fully healed. But she saw the truth in his eyes. Running was just prolonging the inevitable. Eventually Sungmin would find them. And when he did, Jae needed to be ready to fight, not hiding in a cabin with his children. What's the plan? She asked quietly. Jae's smile was sharp and cold. We give Sungmin exactly what he wants. A chance to kill me face to face. But on my terms, not his. Park nodded slowly. I'll make the calls. After he left, Jae sank back onto the couch, his hand finding Maya's. I need you to do something for me, he said. Anything. I need you to take the twins and leave. Tonight. Park will drive you somewhere safe, set you up with new identities, money, everything you need to disappear. Maya's heart stopped. No. Maya. I said no. She pulled her hand free, standing. You don't get to push me away now. You don't get to make that choice for me. I'm trying to keep you alive. And I'm trying to keep us all alive. Together. Maya's voice shook with emotion. You said we were family. You said I mattered. Were you lying? Of course not. Then trust me to make my own decisions. Trust that I know what I'm risking and I'm choosing it anyway. She knelt in front of him, her hands on his knees. I'm not leaving you, Jay. Not now. Not ever. Jay stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her up into his lap, careful of his injury, and kissed her with a desperation that stole her breath. You're going to be the death of me, he murmured against her lips. Or the making of you. Maya kissed him back, pouring everything she felt into it. We'll find out together. From across the room, Siyun made a sound. Not crying, something else. Maya pulled away from Jay to look. The baby was smiling. Not a grimace, not gas. An actual social smile, her tiny face lighting up as she looked at them. Jay, Maya whispered. Look. He turned and his expression transformed. Joy, pure and uncomplicated, flooded his face. That's her first smile. Her real first smile. Maya carefully lifted Siyun, bringing her close. The baby smiled again, wider this time, and something in Maya's chest cracked open completely. Hi, sweet girl, she whispered. Hi, beautiful baby. Jay wrapped his arms around both of them, his chin resting on Maya's shoulder as they watched Siyun smile. Hyunwoo, not to be outdone, started making happy sounds from his car seat. Not quite smiling yet, but close. In that moment, surrounded by danger and uncertainty and impossible odds, Maya felt something she hadn't felt since her parents died. Hope. The meeting was set for 3 days later. 3 days for Jay to heal enough to stand without wincing, 3 days for Park to gather loyal supporters, 3 days for Maya to prepare herself for what was coming. The location was neutral ground. A warehouse in Queens owned by a third party with no loyalty to either Jay or Sungmin. The council would gather there, all 12 members, and Jay would present his case for why he should remain as head of the Baekpa. Or why Sungmin should die for what he'd done. Maya spent those 3 days in a state of controlled terror. She cared for the twins, changed Jay's bandages, and tried not to think about all the ways this could go catastrophically wrong. But at night, lying beside Jay in the cabin's small bed with the baby sleeping nearby, she couldn't hide from her fear. What if they choose him? She whispered on the second night. What if the council decides the old ways are better? Then we fight. Jay's arm tightened around her. And we keep fighting until either we win or we're dead. That's not comforting. It's not meant to be. It's just the truth. He turned to face her in the darkness. But Maya, if things go wrong, if I tell you to run, you take the twins and you go. No arguments. No heroics. You run and you don't look back. Jay. Promise me. His hand cupped her face. Promise me you'll save them even if you can't save me. Maya's throat tightened. I promise. But only if you promise to come back to us. To fight like hell to survive. I promise. He kissed her softly. I have too much to live for now. You've given me that. They made love that night with quiet desperation, their bodies speaking what their words couldn't. Afterward, Maya lay with her head on Jay's chest, listening to his heartbeat, memorizing the feel of him in case this was the last time. I love you, she whispered into the darkness. Jay's arms tightened around her. Say it again. I love you. I'm in love with you. It's insane and impossible and probably going to get us both killed, but I love you. Maya Chen. Jay's voice was rough with emotion. I love you too. More than I thought I could love anyone after you. You've given me hope for a future I thought I'd lost. They stayed awake until dawn, holding each other, not talking, just being together. When morning came, they fed the twins and began preparing for what lay ahead. Park arrived with news. Mr. Han is alive. Maya's relief was immediate. Where is he? Sungmin's men dumped him at a hospital 20 miles from here. He's badly injured, broken ribs, internal bleeding. They tortured him for 2 days. Park's expression was grim. But he didn't break. Didn't give up your location. He's demanding to be released so he can attend the council meeting. He can barely stand, Jay said. How's he going to? He says he has evidence. Something Sungmin's men didn't find when they searched him. Something that will turn the council against your uncle. Park handed Jay a phone. He wants to talk to you. Jay took the call, speaking in rapid Korean. Maya couldn't understand the words, but she heard the emotion. gratitude, respect, determination. When he hung up, his expression was different. Harder. More focused. Han has video evidence of Sungmin's trafficking operation. Recordings of him personally overseeing the transport of underage girls. Financial records connecting him to organ harvesting rings. Jay's voice was ice. Evidence even the old guard can't ignore. That's good, right? Maya asked. That gives you leverage. It gives us a chance. Jay stood carefully, testing his mobility. The wound was healing. Not completely, but enough that he could move without constant pain. But Sungmin won't go down without a fight. He'll bring armed men. This could turn into a bloodbath. Then we make sure you're protected. Maya had been thinking about this for days. Park, how many men do you have loyal to Jay? 15 that I trust completely. Another 20 who are on the fence but lean our way. And Sungmin. Maybe 30 loyal soldiers. But some of them are hired mercenaries, not true believers. They'll run if the tide turns against him. Maya's mind raced through scenarios, through possibilities. She'd spent 3 years in an ER learning to make split-second decisions under pressure. This wasn't that different. We need insurance, she said. Something that makes the council choose Jay even if the evidence isn't enough. Like what? Jay asked. Maya looked at the twins, sleeping peacefully in their carriers. An idea formed. Risky, potentially insane, but it might work. We bring them, she said quietly. Absolutely not. Jay's response was immediate. I won't put them in danger. They're already in danger. Sungmin has a $3 million bounty on them. They'll never be safe until he's dealt with. Maya moved closer to Jay. But think about the optics. You standing before the council with your children. Sungmin tried to kill them during a family celebration. He violated every code of honor the Baekpa holds sacred. Seeing them alive, seeing you protecting them, it's powerful. It's also giving Sungmin exactly what he wants. The twins in one place where his men can get to them. Not if we're smarter. Maya's voice was firm. We don't bring them into the warehouse. We keep them in an armored vehicle outside with guards. The council sees them, sees they're real and alive and innocent. But they stay protected. Jay stared at her for a long moment. Then he looked at Park. Could we secure that? Maybe. If we use Han's most trusted men. Park was already thinking through logistics. Keep the vehicle mobile, ready to evacuate at the first sign of trouble. It's risky, but Miss Chen is right about the optics. I hate this, Jay said. Hate using my children as leverage. You're not using them. You're showing the council what they're really choosing between. Maya took his hand. Sungmin offers the old ways. Violence, fear, treating children as acceptable casualties. You offer something better. A future where families are protected, where honor actually means something. Jay closed his eyes, wrestling with the decision. When he opened them, Maya saw resignation mixed with determination. Hey. But if anything goes wrong, anything at all, you take them and run. No waiting for me. No heroics. You run. I promise. The day of the council meeting arrived cold and gray, the sky threatening snow. Maya dressed in the only clean clothes she had, dark jeans and a simple sweater, nothing that screamed nurse or girlfriend or any role she'd fallen into. She needed to be anonymous, forgettable, someone the council wouldn't see as a threat until it was too late. Jay wore a suit Park had brought, black, expensive, perfectly tailored despite the bandages beneath. He looked every inch the powerful crime lord, except for the softness in his eyes when he looked at Maya and the twins. Last chance to change your mind, he said as they prepared to leave the cabin. Not a chance. Maya was feeding Suyun, marveling at how much the baby had grown in just 5 days. Both twins were more alert now, tracking faces, responding to voices. Suyun smiled whenever she saw Maya or Jay. Hyunwoo had started making cooing sounds that almost resembled conversation. They were thriving despite everything. That had to mean something. The drive to Queens took an hour. Maya rode in the armored SUV with the twins, surrounded by 4 of Park's most trusted men. Jay rode separately with Park and Han, who'd insisted on attending despite his injuries. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Jay, I love you. Whatever happens, remember that. He typed back, I love you too. Come back to us. The warehouse loomed ahead, concrete and steel, no windows, a single entrance heavily guarded. Maya could see other vehicles arriving, expensive cars carrying council members. This was it. The moment that would determine all their futures. Park approached the SUV, spoke to Maya through the window. You'll stay here until the signal. If I give the evacuation code, you drive away immediately. Don't wait. Don't look back. What's the code? White Lotus. The same meaning as Suyun's name. Gentle Lotus. Maya nodded, her throat tight. She watched Jay walk into the warehouse, his posture straight despite the pain she knew he must be feeling. Han limped beside him, one arm in a sling, his face bruised but determined. Then they were gone, swallowed by the warehouse's darkness. Time crawled. Maya fed the twins again, changed their diapers, tried not to think about what was happening inside. The guards remained silent, professional, their weapons visible but not threatening. 30 minutes passed. 45. An hour. Then gunfire erupted from inside the warehouse. Maya's heart stopped. The guards immediately surrounded the SUV, weapons raised. One started the engine, ready to evacuate. Wait, Maya said. The signal. We need the signal. Miss Chen. Wait. More gunfire. Shouting. Then silence. Horrible, endless silence. Maya's phone buzzed. She grabbed it with shaking hands. Unknown number. She answered anyway. Maya Chen. Sungmin's voice, smooth and cultured. I have something that belongs to you. Her blood turned to ice. What do you want? A trade. Jay's children for Jay's life. Bring them inside. Alone. You have 5 minutes or I start removing his fingers. The line went dead. Maya stared at the phone, her mind racing. This was a trap. Obviously a trap. But if Sungmin had Jay, if he was torturing him. Miss Chen. The head guard's voice was urgent. We need to go. Now. He has Jay. He wants me to bring the twins inside or he'll kill him. Then Jay dies. Those were his orders. Protect the children above everything. Maya looked at Suyun and Hyunwoo, both sleeping peacefully despite the chaos. Thought about Jay's promise to come back to them. About the future they'd planned in whispered conversations during long nights. She'd promised to run if things went wrong. Promised to save the twins even if she couldn't save Jay. But she'd also promised to love him. And love meant fighting, not running. I need a weapon, Maya said. Miss Chen. I need a weapon and a distraction. Can you give me that? The guards looked at each other. Finally, the head guard nodded. You have 2 minutes to get in position. Then we create chaos. But Miss Chen, you're probably going to die. Then I'll die with him. Maya accepted the gun he offered, checked the safety the way Jay had taught her during their time at the cabin. 2 minutes. Make them count. She kissed both babies on their foreheads, whispered promises she might not be able to keep, then slipped out of the SUV. The warehouse's side entrance was unguarded. They were all focused on the main doors. Maya moved quietly, her nurses' training helping her stay calm despite her pounding heart. She'd walked into trauma situations before, situations where hesitation meant death. This wasn't different. This mattered more. Inside the warehouse was chaos. Bodies on the floor, some moving, some not. Council members cowering behind overturned tables. And in the center, Sungmin holding a gun to Jay's head while 6 armed men surrounded them. Jay was on his knees, blood running down his face from a head wound. But his eyes were alert, calculating. When he saw Maya slip through the side entrance, his expression went through terror and rage and resignation in rapid succession. Stop, Maya called out, stepping into view. I'm here. Let him go. Sungmin turned and Maya got her first look at Jay's uncle. He was older, maybe 60, with a face that might have been handsome once before cruelty hardened it into something cold and predatory. Miss Chen. The famous nurse. Sungmin's smile didn't reach his eyes. Where are the children? Safe. I'll tell you where they are after you release Jay. I don't think you understand how negotiations work. Sungmin pressed the gun harder against Jay's temple. You give me what I want, or I paint the floor with my nephew's brain. And then you never find the twins. They'll disappear into protective custody beyond your reach. Maya kept her voice steady. But let Jay go and I'll bring them to you myself. It was a lie. The twins were already gone. The guards would have evacuated the moment the shooting started. But Sungmin didn't know that. Maya, don't. Jay's voice was strained. Don't do this. Shut up. Sungmin hit him with the gun and Jae's head snapped sideways. Blood sprayed across the concrete. Rage flooded through Maya, hot and overwhelming. She'd spent 3 years watching people suffer, watching them die, maintaining professional distance because that was how you survived in medicine. But seeing Jae hurt, seeing him bleed, that distance evaporated. "You want to know where the twins are?" Maya's voice was ice. "Come and get me." She ran. Not toward the exit, toward the back of the warehouse, toward the shadows and stacked crates that would give her cover. Behind her, Sungmin shouted orders. Footsteps pounded after her. Maya had maybe 30 seconds before they caught her. She used them to hide behind a shipping container, to steady her shaking hands, to aim at the first man who rounded the corner. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. The man went down, screaming, clutching his leg. Maya had aimed for center mass like Jae taught her, but her hands were shaking too badly for precision. At least she'd hit him. More footsteps. Maya fired again, missed completely, then ran deeper into the warehouse labyrinth. She could hear chaos behind her. The guards were making their move, creating the distraction she'd asked for. Gunfire erupted from multiple directions. Maya ducked behind another container, trying to orient herself. She'd lost track of Sungmin, of Jae, of everything except the need to survive the next 30 seconds. A hand grabbed her from behind. Maya spun, bringing the gun up, but it was yanked from her grip. She found herself staring at one of Sungmin's men, young, maybe 25, with cold eyes that said he'd done this before. "Got her," he called out. Maya did the only thing she could think of. She drove her knee into his groin with every ounce of force she possessed. He doubled over and she grabbed his head, bringing it down to meet her rising knee. The impact sent shock waves up her leg, but the man crumpled. She grabbed the gun he'd dropped and kept moving. The warehouse had devolved into complete chaos. Council members were fleeing. Sungmin's men were fighting Park's loyalists. And somewhere in the middle of it, Jae was still in danger. Maya found him by following the sound of fighting. Jae had somehow gotten free, had a gun in his hand, and was systematically taking down Sungmin's soldiers despite the blood running down his face and the way he favored his wounded side. He was magnificent and terrifying, every inch the dangerous crime lord who'd built an empire. Maya had seen glimpses of this side of him, but never the full reality. Never the cold precision with which he killed, the absolute lack of hesitation. It should have frightened her. Instead she found it beautiful. "Jae," Maya called out. He spun, relief flooding his face when he saw her. "Maya, what the hell?" "Duck." Jae dropped instantly. Maya fired over his head at the man who'd been approaching from behind. Her shot went wide, but it made the man dive for cover, giving Jae time to finish him. Then Sungmin was there, gun raised, pointed at Jae's back. Maya didn't think. She just moved, throwing herself between them even as her rational mind screamed that this was suicide. The gunshot was loud enough to make her ears ring. Maya waited for pain, for the impact, for dying. Instead, Sungmin staggered backward, blood blooming across his chest. Han stood 10 feet away, his gun smoking, his face gray with pain from the effort of standing. "That's for my daughter," he said quietly. "For every child you've hurt." Sungmin fell to his knees, then to his face. He twitched once, then went still. Silence fell over the warehouse. The fighting stopped as everyone registered what had happened. Sungmin was dead. The coup was over. Jae stood slowly, his eyes locked on Maya with an expression that held too many emotions to name. He crossed to her in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "You promised to run," he said against her hair. "You promised." "I lied." Maya's voice was muffled against his chest. "I couldn't leave you. You stupid, brave, incredible woman." Jae pulled back just enough to kiss her desperately. "Don't ever do that again." "I can't promise that." Around them, the surviving council members were emerging from cover. Park appeared, blood on his sleeve but otherwise unharmed. Han limped over, surrendering his weapon to one of Park's men before he collapsed into a chair. The eldest council member, the one Maya remembered from research, Kim Jae-sung, stepped forward. His suit was rumpled, his face pale, but his voice was steady. "Is Sungmin dead?" "Yes." Jae kept one arm around Maya, but his posture shifted into something more formal. "He's dead. The coup is over." "And the children?" "The bounty." "My children are safe." The bounty dies with Sungmin. Kim looked at Maya, his expression unreadable. This is the nurse. The one who saved your life. This is Maya Chen. Jae's arm tightened around her. The woman I love. The mother of my children in every way that matters. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can challenge me now. The warehouse was silent. Finally Kim smiled, small but genuine. Your father would have hated her. Would have said she makes you weak. He paused. Your father was a fool. She makes you stronger than he ever was. Kim turned to address the other council members. Jae Min-ho remains as head of the BECPA. The transition to legitimate business continues. Anyone who objects can leave now with their life. Stay and you follow the new code. 3 council members left. 9 remained. It was enough. 6 months later. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through the windows of the penthouse bedroom and the sound of babies babbling from the nursery. She smiled, stretching, then reached across the bed for Jae. She found him in the nursery as she'd expected. He was sitting in the rocking chair with Soo-yoon in his arms, speaking to her in Korean while Hyun-woo played on the floor nearby. Both twins were sitting up now, crawling, on the verge of pulling themselves to standing. Growing so fast it made Maya's heart ache. Couldn't sleep? She asked from the doorway. Jae looked up, and the smile he gave her still made her breath catch even after 6 months together. Didn't want to. I'd rather be here with them. Maya settled on the floor beside Hyun-woo, who immediately crawled into her lap. He was such a mama's boy already, always wanting her attention, her touch. Seon was daddy's girl through and through, calming instantly in Jae's arms. Han called, Jae said. The last of the trafficking operations have been shut down. Every victim accounted for, most of them returned to their families. That's good. And the federal investigation into the BECPA is being quietly dropped. Apparently, cooperating with law enforcement to dismantle human trafficking rings earns you goodwill. His smile was ironic. Who knew? Maya laughed. The past 6 months had been chaos. Testifying to the council, working with federal investigators, helping transition the organization away from its criminal past. But through it all they'd stayed together. Built a family. Created something beautiful from the ashes of violence. Dr. Kim called too, Maya said. She wants to know if I'm ready to return to work. Jae's expression shifted. Are you? Maya thought about it. She missed nursing, missed the hospital, missed making a difference in those small, immediate ways. But she'd been making a different kind of difference here. Raising Soo-yoon and Hyun-woo, helping Jae navigate the transition, building a life that mattered. Maybe part-time, she said. A few shifts a week. Just to keep my skills sharp. Whatever you want. Jae shifted Soo-yoon to one arm and reached for Maya with the other, pulling her close. As long as you come home to us. Always. She kissed him softly. You're stuck with me, Jae Min-ho. Best thing that ever happened to me. The penthouse intercom buzzed. Park's voice came through. Sir, your mother is here. Jae and Maya exchanged glances. His mother had been complicated about their relationship. A Korean crime boss marrying a Chinese-American nurse wasn't exactly traditional. But she'd softened considerably when she met the twins, had started coming around more often, bringing gifts and unsolicited advice about child-rearing. Send her up, Jae said. They gathered in the living room, Jae's mother immediately taking Soo-yoon and cooing over her in Korean. She'd softened considerably in 6 months, her initial coldness melting under the twins' charm. I have news, she announced. Good news for once. What is it? Jae asked. The old guard members who left the council? 3 of them have been arrested for their connections to illegal gambling operations. The remaining 6 have requested to return to the BECPA under your leadership. She smiled. It seems honor and legitimacy are becoming popular. Maya felt Jae's tension ease. He'd worried about those who left, about them forming a rival organization. Having them return or face justice was better than the alternative. And there's one more thing. His mother's expression turned serious. A proposal. From me. What kind of proposal? Jae asked warily. A wedding. Proper Korean ceremony. You and Maya. Let me give you the celebration you deserve. He looked at Maya. You saved my son. You're raising my grandchildren. You deserve to be welcomed into this family properly. Maya's throat tightened. Mrs. Jae, you don't have to. I want to. Please. The older woman's eyes were wet. Let me do this. Let me show you that you're family. Maya looked at Jay, who was watching her with hope and love and a question in his eyes. What do you say? He asked softly. Want to marry me? Again, but properly this time. They'd married quietly 2 months ago. A civil ceremony with just Park and Han as witnesses. Legal, binding, but nothing ceremonial. Part of Maya had mourned that, had wanted the celebration, the declaration of forever. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I want that. The wedding was planned for spring. Traditional Korean ceremony, Maya's few remaining friends invited, the entire Baekpa organization in attendance. It would be beautiful and terrifying and perfect. But for now they had this. Sunday morning, the twins playing on the floor, Jay's mother finally smiling at Maya with genuine warmth. Small moments of peace, hard-won and precious. That evening, after his mother left and the twins were asleep, Jay led Maya to the music room in the penthouse. She discovered it 2 months ago. A gorgeous Steinway grand piano, the most expensive instrument money could buy. You promised, Jay said, gesturing to the piano. When this was over, you'd play for me. Maya's hands shook as she sat at the bench. She hadn't played in 5 years. Hadn't even thought about it. But her fingers found the keys like coming home. She played Chopin, Nocturne in E-flat major, the piece she'd won competitions with as a teenager. Her fingers were rusty at first, stumbling over passages that used to be effortless. But muscle memory took over and soon the music flowed, filling the room with beauty and longing and hope. Jay stood behind her, his hands on her shoulders, and Maya felt tears streaming down her face as she played. She was crying for everything she'd lost. Her parents, her dreams, years of her life spent just surviving. But also for everything she'd found. Jay, the twins, a family she'd never expected, a future she'd never imagined possible. When the last note faded, Jay pulled her up and into his arms. You're magnificent, he whispered. Absolutely magnificent. I'm out of practice. You're perfect. He kissed her deeply. And you're mine. And I'm never letting you go. Later, lying in bed with Jay's arm around her and the baby monitor softly broadcasting Suyun's sleep sounds, Maya thought about the path that had led here. A desperate stranger bleeding in a parking garage. 2 newborn babies crying in the darkness. A choice made in a moment that changed everything. Do you ever regret it? Jay asked quietly. Giving up nursing school, your career, your normal life? No. Maya didn't have to think about it. I gave up a life that was killing me slowly. What I have now, you, the twins, this family, it's worth everything. I love you, Maya Chen. I love you too, Jae Minho. Forever. From the nursery, Hyunwoo started crying, not distressed, just wanting attention. Maya started to get up, but Jay stopped her. I'll get him. You rest. She watched him go, this dangerous man who'd become the most devoted father she'd ever seen. Listened to his soft voice soothing their son, singing a Korean lullaby she'd heard 100 times now but still didn't fully understand. This was her life now. Crime boss's wife, mother to twins who weren't hers by blood but were hers by every choice that mattered. It wasn't the life she'd planned. But it was the life she'd chosen, moment by moment, decision by decision. And she wouldn't trade it for anything. Maya closed her eyes, listened to Jay singing and let herself drift toward sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. It always did. But tonight they were safe. They were together. They were family. And that was everything. Epilogue 2 years later. Maya stood in the wings of the community center theater, watching Suyun's preschool put on their spring performance. The little girl was 3 now, confident and bright, singing her heart out while her classmates giggled and forgot their lines. Beside Maya, Hyunwoo squirmed in her arms. Sissy singing, he announced proudly. At 3 he was a chatterbox, constantly narrating the world. Yes, baby. Sissy's singing so well. Jay appeared beside her, sliding an arm around her waist. She's a natural performer. She gets that from you. You commanded a criminal organization. She commands a preschool stage. Maya leaned into him. Same energy. He laughed, the sound easy and warm. So different from the wounded, desperate man she'd found 2 years ago. Jay still had scars, physical and emotional, but he'd healed in ways that mattered most. The Baekpa was fully legitimate now. Restaurants, real estate, import-export, all legal, all profitable, all clean. Jay had kept his promise to Jiwoo and to their children. He'd built something they could be proud of. And Maya had kept her promise too. She worked part-time at the hospital, 3 shifts a week, enough to maintain her skills and her sense of purpose. The rest of her time went to the twins and to the foundation she and Jay had started, helping victims of trafficking rebuild their lives. Full circle in a way. She'd saved Jay and his children. Now they were saving others together. After the performance, they took the twins for ice cream. Soo-yoon, still in her costume, excitedly recounted every moment. Hyun-woo stole bites of his sister's cone when she wasn't looking. "They're growing so fast," Maya said, watching them with that bittersweet ache parents know. "I can't believe they're already 3. I can't believe it's been 2 years since that night in the parking garage." Jay's hand found hers across the table. "Since you changed everything. We changed everything. Together." That night, after the twins were asleep, Maya found Jay on the penthouse balcony, looking out over the city. She wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her cheek against his back. "What are you thinking about?" "About how I almost died in a parking garage. About how I would have if you'd been anyone else." He turned in her arms. "About how lucky I am that you're exactly who you are." "Lucky? I basically stalked you with medical intervention. Best stalker I ever had." He kissed her softly. "I have something for you." Jay pulled a small box from his pocket. Maya's heart skipped. They were already married, already committed. What was this? Inside was a simple pendant, a lotus flower carved from white jade. "Seon's name," Maya whispered. "Gentle lotus. Jiwoo's favorite flower. She always said the lotus was special because it grows beautiful even in muddy water. It transforms its environment rather than being transformed by it." Jay fastened the pendant around Maya's neck. "That's what you did for us. For me. You took a man drowning in violence and helped him grow into someone better. Took 2 babies who'd lost their mother and gave them love that didn't erase her but honored her memory by being exactly what they needed." Maya's vision blurred with tears. "Jay, I wanted you to have this. To remember that you're not just someone who saves lives in emergency rooms. You save lives by choosing to love people who are broken and helping them become whole." Maya kissed him through her tears, tasting salt and promise and forever. They made love that night with the tenderness of long familiarity mixed with the passion that had ignited in a parking garage 2 years ago. Afterward, wrapped in Jay's arms, Maya thought about the journey that had brought them here. She'd been a nurse barely surviving, drowning in grief and debt and loneliness. She'd found a wounded stranger and made a choice that defied logic, that risked everything, that changed the trajectory of multiple lives. And she'd do it again in a heartbeat. "Maya," Jay murmured against her hair. "Thank you." "For what?" "For staying. For choosing us. For being brave enough to love me even when it meant giving up everything safe and predictable." He pulled back to look at her. "For being the best mother my children could have asked for. For being my partner in every way that matters. I should be thanking you. You gave me a family. Gave me purpose. Gave me a reason to be brave." Maya smiled through fresh tears. "You gave me everything. We gave each other everything." From the nursery, the baby monitor crackled with soft sounds. Seon talking in her sleep, Hyun-woo shifting positions. The sounds of their children, safe and loved and growing. This was what mattered. Not the violence they'd survived, not the odds they'd overcome, not the past that had tried to destroy them. This, the quiet moments, the shared life, the family forged in fire and blood and desperate choices. Maya Chen had walked into a parking garage looking for nothing more than to finish her shift and go home. She'd found a dying man, 2 newborn babies, and a future she never could have imagined. She'd found her family. And she'd found herself. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Jay whispered back. "Forever and always." "Forever and always," Maya agreed. And in that moment, in that room with their children sleeping peacefully down the hall and the whole city spread below them, Maya knew she'd made the right choice. Every single time. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.